First and foremost, this is a very special occasion for me just to gather fathers in general. This is a journey that I've never been on. I'm 3 years in, and I just think it's a beautiful thing just to bring fellow fathers together. That's our common bond. Just being fathers is just conversing and seeking understanding with each other. Like, my main goal is I want each individual who is coming through today and speaking just to feel that much more proud of being a father, you know? Something in which I wake up every morning like Nova is my alarm clock. And it's an alarm clock I never get tired of, that I don't press snooze on. And I'm just grateful, so I'm very excited for this conversation. Much love. Before we do get to conversation, if you guys don't mind, could you please introduce yourself by stating your name, what is it that you do, and how many kids do you have and their age?
I'm RodneyRikai. I have 2 children, 15, 17, child and a half.
Okay.
This is actually my nephew, but he's in my full-time care. Writer, actor, filmmaker, producer.
Beautiful.
TV host, run a gamut, all things, stock connected, black man.
Philanthropist.
What do you know? Try to do for the community sometimes.
Respectfully.
Heard.
Love.
What's going on? My name is Drew Correa. I am an A&R at a record label. I have 1 daughter. She'll be 3 in January, so next month. Yeah. Awesome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Peace and blessings. My name is Abdul Mubarak Rowe. I live in New Jersey. I have 2 daughters and a granddaughter. My oldest her birthday today is today. She's 45.
Oh, wow.
My youngest is 34, and I have a granddaughter, 22. And I'm a retired television video producer and editor and communications director.
Beautiful, beautiful. Daniel, Daniel David, aka Lastnamedavid. I'm a father. I'm a music producer, civil engineer. I got 1 daughter. She's 2. And Loki got another one on the way.
Wow. I'm gonna get to that. That's beautiful. Congrats, brother.
Right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's all I can think of.
Nah, that's a lot. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Before we even get to the questions, I did want to say the reason why I did select you guys, because from afar, I've been, just watching, and I admire how you guys move as individuals and also how you guys move as fathers. Just honorable, just good people, and I could tell you guys really love and care for your kin. And as I get older, as I mature as a man, it says a lot about a person's character, So first and foremost, this is like my way of giving you guys flowers, of just saying, like, thank you for being great fathers to these children, especially within our community. There's a lot, unfortunately, people did not receive that love from us, so the fact that you guys are doing so truly means a lot. But before we get too sentimental, let's get into the questions respectfully. So the first question which I did have, and no order, whoever, the first question I did have was, how do you guys balance your careers with being the best fathers you can be?
I guess I could go first. To be honest, it's something that I'm working on all the time, every day. Working in entertainment music, it's a very demanding job. Working with creatives, they want you to be with them as much as possible. It's a very demanding job, but obviously, like, my first job is being a father. So I try to put just as much time as I put into my career. I try to match that, or even put more time into being a dad. And however, I gotta figure that out. And I work really hard to balance my schedule. Working in music, a lot of it happens in the evening. So I make sure that like every morning I get up with my daughter, I get her out of bed, I get her dressed, I make her a hot breakfast. While she's eating breakfast, I'll FaceTime my parents. So they're on the East Coast, so she has a relationship with her grandparents.
Beautiful.
The mornings are the thing that I dedicate to her, and then try to in the evenings to be around for dinner, just like making the extra effort to be around, to be present. If there's something going on, a doctor's appointment, whatever it is, like I'm there, and I feel like sometimes it's hard to balance, and we're like, there's always an appointment, there's always a recital, there's always a parent teaching conference or whatever, but I just like work it out with my wife, make sure everything's scheduled, and those things are like non-negotiables for me. Like that's kind of how I've been trying to balance it, you know what I mean? So
How long you been married? Come on, asking.
I've been with my wife for 10 years. We've been married for 3.
Shout out to the wives. My wife is inside. Shout out to wifey. I love you.
Hey.
Yeah. Shout out to the BMs too. I'm talking Beamers.
Right.
But anyone want to go next?
It's a sacrifice, as I see it. It's really difficult to balance, having children and having a career too. One of the things, my wife, she expressed that even before we had our youngest daughter, she said she did not want to be a type of wife who sits at home while her husband's away working, out of town, and so forth and so on, right? And so, being that I was in television can be very, very demanding, and I deliberately chose to keep my career options local, because there were many opportunities that I could have traveled with various companies and what have you to do work. But given the fact that I had a daughter at home, this is before my youngest was born, I deliberately chose to curtail a lot of my freelance work for the local area, keep it localized, right? And when I did start it, when my youngest daughter Solana was born, I was working a full-time job at the time, and I was making sure, trying to make sure that my work schedule was of such that I would be, be home, pardon me, in the evenings. Although that didn't always work out that way, and I really regretted that, but that was beyond my control to control my schedule to some extent in the latter years. So I tried to balance it as best I could, because I would get up in the mornings with her there, but I wouldn't sometimes be at home in the evenings when she comes home from school. That's what I hated so much, right? And but that all being said, I did try to create some sort of a sense of balance in terms of my work schedules and what have you. It's a real challenge for those of us who are in the entertainment industry, because there is no 9 to 5.
Facts. Yeah.
There's just no 9 to 5. And so people outside of our industry look at us like, well, how come you can't be home at a certain time of night? Why you gotta be up all hours of the night? Yada, yada, da, 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 da. How come you just get into bed so late? I mean, I remember when, and I'm gonna keep this really short, I would come to bed, I would get home in the evenings like 11, I get off work at 11 o'clock, get home at 12, wouldn't go to bed until 4, and would get up in the mornings to see everybody off.
Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah.
Because I didn't, hey, I'm not a 9 to 5-er.
Yeah.
It's like that, so it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
I'm learning that.
I think most men define their legacy by the work they leave behind, right? I grew up with a father who, while he loved me, he ain't liked me very much. I represented the sacrifice of his dreams. I saw what kind of man it turned him into. So early on, I established that, even though I had a kid at 22 years old, I had to establish early on, even though I'm a father, it is to the necessity of my spirit, of my soul, to do the work that I feel like I'm designed to be on earth for.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be miserable. I didn't want my son to grow up not knowing what it looked like for a man to chase a dream. Historically, I think a lot of men sacrifice one or the other. Either they sacrifice the dream or they sacrifice the relationship with the kid.
Yeah.
I felt like my whole life has been predicated on duality and balancing all things. there were sacrifices that had to be made. You know, like I had to move cross country for a while to further my career. I trusted the universe that things would right themselves. You know, I continued to be in my son's life, and inevitably he ends up moving out to LA with me. You know what I mean? And it's because on a spiritual level, I had committed to the professional work, but then the work of fatherhood, right? And I just always knew it would come back around. I wrote a script about my son living with me in LA 10 years before he even got here.
Jeez. Yeah.
I just knew I was committed to this dream, to this vision. Because when you work in the capacity in which we all do, or when you work in an industry that's rooted in passion, something you're truly passionate about, you typically have visions.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. You kind of know. It's not. You're not surprised.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I made sure that I was steadfast in committing myself to both of my earthly tasks and fatherhood and the things that I do in entertainment.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Eloquent. Nah, I appreciate that. I guess to answer that myself, I'm still learning. I'm learning on the job, really. I think I was conversing with someone earlier, like, you know, this is my first time being a father. Like, I don't know how to move with this. So I'm really learning on the job, but I think the more I lean into, obviously me being a creative, but the more I prioritize fatherhood first, it allows everything else to make sense. You know, obviously it's difficult moments, but, you know, I'm grateful I have a wife who is patient, understanding, and I can work with her. Our Nova's on the shoot, you know, and things of that nature. So I think I'm learning as I go. I'm learning today, you know, so it's something in which I've not yet quite figured out the balance, but I do see, regardless of anything, the father comes first before anything. And if someone can't respect that or understand that, then respectfully, we might not be able to do business together, you know, because that's who I am first, you know. But I'm definitely learning as I go. And I think it allowed me to learn as I go with other things as well. Just realizing, like, nigga, you're not gonna get it like the first 3 years. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get it the first 30 probably either, you know? So it's just figuring it out, but just put the father first. And I guess attempting to build, not even attempting, but building that system with my partner does assist with figuring out that balance. Like, hey, babe, like, all right, we got this calendar, I'm doing this, all right, trying to build a system, you know? But even with a system, shit could get wacky, you know? But just trying to be water with it, you know?
I think it's interesting you said 2 points. One point you made and a point that you made over here that was really significant. There's no manual to fatherhood, right? And also you were mentioning about your father, the experience you had with your father. Similarly, I didn't have a father in my life. I had grandparents, and I had male role models in my community that I looked up to as big brothers and fathers and what have you. And one of the things that I instilled in my own head, in my own thinking, even as a young child, is what I don't want to do, what I don't want. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, even though you say that, certain behaviors are inculcated into your subconscious that you're not aware of, and you grow up acting exactly like what you didn't want to be.
It's hard to defeat DNA.
Yeah.
It's hard to defeat
Yeah.
How do you defeat it?
You defeat it. You defeat it by becoming aware.
Yeah.
Okay, you're becoming aware of it because, and you make a deliberate effort to not be that which you don't want. Okay, and you sort of like, there's a thing called genetic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk DNA. There's genetic engineering. Okay, epigenetic engineering, if you will. All right. So you know what your father was or wasn't. You know what your mother was or wasn't. Yeah. And you determine that once you understand that and understand you and what your inner power is, you make a determined effort not to be that. And it takes a while, man. I mean, you know, like it took me decades. I do mean decades, you know, to achieve that actualization of that point, of that moment, right? And I'm still working on it. At 72.
You look good, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Praise God. Thank you. But yeah, so it's definitely a challenge in the process, man. You know, we have a lot of dysfunctions. We have a lot of dysfunctions in our community. And one of the things my sister and I and my cousins on my father's side, we have talked about excessively, even in my generation, is breaking those cycles. We got to break these cycles, man. We got to break these cycles. It's imperative on us to begin the process of breaking the cycles. And realistically speaking, I can't accomplish it in my generation. Neither can you.
Facts.
Because we didn't get this way in one generation, so we won't end this in one generation. You feel me? So Nova, God willing, she'll begin to break some of the cycles in her era.
Yeah.
And her children.
Yeah.
All right? I'm just saying.
Now, respectfully, now you talking.
Yeah, I'm just keeping it real.
You talking. Let's go on to question 2. What would you guys say were some of the biggest challenges you faced within fatherhood, whether it's in the beginning stages, teenage stage, which I haven't embarked in yet, or I'm just curious. Any challenges you guys faced?
Or my son's mother and I, we weren't even dating. She didn't even know my real name when she got pregnant. So there was a huge familiarity obstacle to overcome. And culturally, you know, she's a first generation Jamaican. She is a different kind of parent. Culturally, she just identifies differently, you know what I'm saying? And West Indian women and Nigerian women, they coddle their young boys.
Respect.
And as a man who grew up playing sports and kind of adopted the ideology of tough love, it used to irk me that she would do so much for him, because I know to a degree, like you can nurture and love and pour into, but you can also weaken.
Enable.
When you do too much.
Yeah.
And so that became a huge point of contention, is just trying to figure out systematically how we would raise this kid together. I mean, being in court, you know, fighting. I'm the one that filed. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is kind of atypical. Being in court, figuring out what that system was like and how it impacted and affected my household. I mean, there were a number of obstacles, but I tell people all the time, it's funny, I was talking to my son's mother on the way over here, because we cool like that now. And she is the barometer by which I measure my growth. Because our relationship has evolved in a way in which she wanted to keep me away from my son, to the point where she said, can you take our baby and take him the rest of the way? So yeah, I feel like any of the challenges early on that I was presented with, eventually, inevitably, I've overcome, but it was ass. it was ass.
It was a few seasons of ass.
Yeah.
Years.
I get it. I get it. I
Decade
totally
of
get
ass.
it. I totally get it. Yeah.
What about you, brothers? Any challenges?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Please.
No, please.
I
Defer.
was just gonna say, I think what I didn't realize was how hard it was to be a partner. When you expecting, your seed, you kind of think all your brain power goes to, all right, this is how I imagine I'm gonna be to them, but then you fail to realize that, in my case, I had a co-parent, I had to understand everybody's evolving after, it's like before child and after child, in a sense, how your life changes. And so just understanding how I changed, and also understanding how my partner changed, and how we had to work together to preserve our relationship, and then also and raise a kid too. And then you kind of figure out, we don't think the same on this aspect.
You talking right now? Yeah.
It's that is, I think that's forever going to be challenging. But it also gets better. It's also been better. So I wasn't. That was a blind spot for me.
Yeah. For me, it was a matter of me had to unlearn a lot of stuff. My rearing as a young man, as a child, did I give birth to you?
Yeah. Nova's three, and there's some days I'm like, damn,
she active.
Respectfully.
Yeah, with all due respect.
Yeah, you feel what I'm saying? So I could imagine,
Yeah, so when they turn, wait till they turn 13, 14, 15, it's gonna be a whole, in this era that we're living in, it's gonna be a whole nother dynamic, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so it requires patience,
Yeah.
prayer,
Yeah.
lots of it. And you and your wife or your lady has to be on code, on the same code.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's when they get to be, I mean, they get, you know, manipulative and playing one off in the other, things like that. So, you know, y'all have to be on code with each other.
Yeah.
Again, you have to be on code. I mean, on code all the time, so that they can't play that one off against the other game. You know, because they will do it.
No, trust me.
You know, they will do it. They will do it as quick as anything. So yeah, it was, so it's like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Did you experience like your love changing for your children more over time?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It depends upon the circumstances too. It depends upon how they relate to you, how you relate to them. Yeah, it changes. It evolves.
With time.
What year? I'm sorry, but I got questions, right?
We
as,
here.
We got an elder, you know what I'm saying?
Respectfully, let's learn.
At what year did you even start to, as a man, right, start to adopt the idea of boundary setting?
For me, it started late. Better late than never, I say. But I started like around, I want to say, mid 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
Something like that.
Was it something unique to you, or was it like an ideology like permeating your community? Like, how did you start to realize that boundaries were even important?
When I began,
identify them as boundaries.
When I began to talk to my friends who were my peers,
okay,
men and women, and we were talking about the same thing.
Got it.
Around the same age group, right? A lot of my friends were like, they were young fathers and young mothers too. And we all had the same conversations, you know? So we kind of got amongst each other like we are gathered right now, and just talk about our kids. And so, you know, we talked and we related, and it's like all of us was having challenges with our children, you know, growing up in the 80s and the 90s and whatnot, right? And so we were facing the exact same thing, exact same shit, you know? And so we got together. We just happened to come together and talk. And so we reinforced each other. We supported each other. And so we learned we had to set boundaries, because we all had the exact same issues, varying in varying degrees, okay, but had the exact same issues. I mean, mothers and fathers, right? And so, like, we were like in our 30s or 40s, but as you get old, it depends upon when you have a child. You know, I didn't have a kid. My first child was like when I was, 27. My second one was when I was like almost in my 40s, right? So that 40-something-year-old, me as a 40-something-year-old with a child, it's different than your child when you're a 27-year-old.
Yeah, based upon where you're at.
Precisely. Precisely.
Your maturation.
Precisely, and you learn.
When I started to look at my mom as just a person, like a woman, then like my mom, like, you know, it's just like she has her flaws. Right. She has shit that she learned over time. So it's just like, but it could be difficult. But I think us as children, we have to give our parents grace and understand that, you know, like, they've grown just like we have.
Right.
And who are we to like shun them? Respectfully, you know, because like, imagine if your child does the same to you. So just give grace. But I want to kind of keep it going respectfully. I appreciate you guys' answers as well. Thank you so much. But I did want to touch on Drewski. What were some difficulties for you within the past 2 to 3 years?
I mean, I think I've never been a parent before, so like, you know, like you were saying, like learning on the job. I've never had, like, I didn't have a lot of like younger cousins, so I was never like around young children. So just learning how to be a dad, and then like going back to the first question, like how to balance career, passion with that. And then like, because my career is so demanding and I spend a lot of time there, that I feel like I have to, every single second of my life outside of that, I have to be with my daughter, which you know, I love doing, but also I'm starting to learn. And it was like, it took me a while that like, you also have to make time for yourself as a person, right? You can't pour into someone else's cup if yours is empty.
Yeah.
So trying to navigate and figure out how to kind of pour into my cup.
Yeah.
And then also being a partner in a marriage, trying to figure out a way to like also pour into that cup, right?
Yeah.
There's like all these separate things, like the family,
Yeah.
you as a person, you in your marriage or your partnership, and like making sure that you are being attentive to kind of all of those things.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing that for your relationship, that's gonna hinder your family, and how it affects your child could be really, really great. So trying to learn how to do that right now in real time, honestly. So
Yeah.
I would say that's like kind of a big hurdle.
Yeah.
Being a new dad.
Yeah. Likewise, I would say the same thing. It's, I would say one of the most difficult thing for me is unlearning shit about me. Because I realized, like, if I want to be the best father, I got to be the best individual. So I was kind of realizing, like, Mo, you fucked up. Like, you got to, like, I'm not dead ass. Like, I want to be the best father, husband, person. And I realized the most difficult thing was me doing the shadow work. Like the shit that people don't see on IG, all the homies don't see. So like just really doing the work on myself. It took time after Nova was born. It's just like, it could just simply being not being late or whatever it is, but just doing the work on myself and realizing how difficult it was. But I know if I do the work on myself, I'm gonna be a better father. I'm gonna be a better husband as well. And another thing that was difficult and still difficult, but I'm getting better with time, is patience. I think within the past 3 years, because Nova was born, she's a COVID baby, meaning that she was born within that time. So within the last 3 years, I've even just being patient with myself from like, making the move from Jersey, Long Island to now we're in LA, and just having to be patient with that process. It was very difficult, as well as just being patient with a child. So I remember in the beginning, like, if you know MoRuf, I'm pretty calm, I'm chill. But I could get a little peeved, but I realized like this is a child who, they fresh hair. They don't know that from that. So you have to give them grace. And I keep on using the word grace because I'm realizing how, God give us grace, when we mess up. And for an individual who, this is, they not even half a decade here, it's our duty to like teach them that. And I'm learning just the power of just giving our children grace. Shout out to the birds, gang. Nah, you see, right? That's the government. But, and I grew up, Nigerians, rest well to my father. So I grew up, my father and my mom, they were loving, but I got disciplined, My wife, she's introducing me to this new age of discipline, which is no hands.
Yeah.
And it's verbal, but it's not verbal abuse. It's more so reprimanding, but just letting them know, having conversations. So when she introduced it to me, I'm just like, this is giving me Full House. I'm not really, you can get me. But I do see, I don't want to instill fear. I do want to instill fear in Nova, in which like, I want you to be scared of me, but at the same time, I want you to come to me. Like, I want to be your best friend as well. So I'm learning that balance of, cause I'm the fun dad too. Like when I'm walking in the room, she's like hyper, she's wilding. But at the same time, I'm trying to like learn how to discipline without the rod, as the word says. You know what I'm saying? And I do see the importance of that as well. And me being Nigerian American, I did see the importance of me needing the rod as well, because it saved me. And I think the rod does save you, but also I do see the power in the word of articulating. But it could be difficult when you have a 3-year-old who is smart and very intelligent, but she don't understand everything, So, but that's a question to you, Pop. How did you maneuver, obviously, with, the 2 children?
Again, I have to go back to my rearing, to my child rearing, and I would offer that within the context of most of the rearing of black parents, of black children in America stems from our slave experience.
Facts.
That's a fact.
Yes.
And we got beaten every chance we get. So that was passed down, multi-generational trauma. You know, when you hear people talk about how they were whipped and what have you and so forth and so on, yet still have, you know, love for their parents and things like that, it reminds me of some Stockholm Syndrome shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, just psychologically, it's Stockholm Syndrome, all right? And when I got of some age and really began to, probably like in my 50s, and I began to really re-examine my childhood, because a lot of the pain I had and experienced was suppressed, right, all those decades, and it impacted everything in my life, from how I deal with women, how I deal with my children, how I deal with myself, right? And until I began to like come full stop and take a long, honest, hard look at myself and sit in my own discomfort, okay?
Yeah.
And really begin to like unpack all that shit, you know, that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
Then I began to be a better person. Because all those years I thought I was okay and I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
You know, because I suppressed this for so long.
Yeah.
So we're talking about decades and decades of being of suppressed trauma and experience that I had to unpack slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And you know, I thank Allah, thank God much that I've been able to do that. That He helped me to do that.
For sure.
Okay. And I went to therapy, yeah, but I am my first therapist.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things, you know, about men, see, men are conditioned to own up to their shit.
Yeah. Well, you said we're conditioned to?
We're conditioned to.
Okay.
Absolutely, we're conditioned to. You know, because we're confronted every day with having to own our stuff and be accountable.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily occur on the other side of the aisle.
Wait. I'm curious. Wait.
I know where you. Yes, there is a culture of accountability that men are supposed to have, right?
Right.
Sometimes it feels like the beautiful other side of our existence doesn't always have the same level of accountability. But a lot of times, the place that men are less accountable is in the home.
Okay.
Men abandon the accountability of being an emotionally safe space for their partners, for their children. And so I think in the most critical areas of our life, because in our professional world, yeah, of course we're accountable, right? Because we're providers. But sometimes in our home, in our home habitat, we abandon the accountability that we exist and we exude in the outside world.
Allow me to expand on that point. And I take your point very seriously, and you're correct. I would offer that is due to the fact of how we were raised, how we were conditioned. Men don't feel emotions. Men don't cry. Big boys don't cry. What are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry about. You know, think about that. All that shit all that torture, that was torture and abuse, psychological torture and abuse that we were given when we were babies and children. Okay, and let me just offer this to you. I'm gonna share with you a little portion of my.
I like you. I like you.
Right?
You remind me.
You might be an older version of you, Lo. I didn't want to say it. Nah, but I get that.
Every one of my first cousins, his sister, my aunt that I met for the first time, his first cousins and his second cousins I met for the first time, they had nothing but glowing things to say about him. And I was ashamed to have him as my father. Really. And it was so much so that when I went down to Florida to visit them, I recorded our conversations. And I came back home and put it on, made a documentary, a little interview thing on YouTube, titled, "I Am My Father's Son." And I never thought that I would be able to say that in the 70 years that of my living. And when I learned of him a different narrative, okay? It was like a veil was lifted. It was like I felt complete. I felt whole, you know? Yeah. And the shit that I had burdened and carried around with myself for 70 years, bro, was just like, whew,
lifted. Yeah.
Okay?
Can you relate, Rodney? My fault. I don't mean to interrupt, but is this something that...
It's on many levels.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of grace given to men and black men in particular, right? Like we've lost the ability to be nuanced in our society and in our community sometimes to understand that, like, yes, two things can be true. I am, one, doing my best, and two, my best ain't good enough.
Facts.
And so I feel like I empathize, I sympathize, right? My son's mother for the first, 8-9 years of his life, when I was in Irvington, like, my son would be with me on Sanford Ave. She would tell my son, your dad's a deadbeat. You know what I mean? Like, they would ingrain that in my child for years. My son was scared of me.
Yeah.
When he moved out here, he was like, yo, why would you send me with this monster? It was a punishment to him.
Yeah.
And, I was fortunate that we had a really long conversation one time, and I was like, hey, man, like, I've never said anything bad about your mother, and I will continue that. Do me a favor, judge me by how I treat you, not by what you've heard about me. So I can only imagine if I didn't have the opportunity to house my son full time, 3,000 miles away from his mom and from home base. I can only imagine, some of the ideas
that would have occurred throughout the years.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I get it. Yeah, just for 70 years to go by.
I get it.
That relief came to you, man.
I get it.
Messed me up.
I get it. I totally get it.
What does it mean to you, bro, to be a girl dad? Well, this is a question actually for Drewski and Pop. What is it? I let Drewski answer first. What does it mean to be a girl dad for you?
I think it's special. I don't know. There's something different about like a love between a father and his daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I've never known love like that.
Yeah.
And kind of to like what I was just kind of saying to you is like, for me, I have to be the example of what a partner should be. So like, we talk about child rearing, disciplining, like not putting, no man should put no man should put his hands on you, or just like how I treat and interact with my wife, her mother, like
in front of her. Yeah.
I am the example, 24/7. When I'm having a bad day, when she might get on my nerves, or whatever it is. I think it's just really important to be. Obviously, you want to be a role model, but like the example. I am the example.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. What? That was beautiful.
Having daughters, you gotta have a lot of patience. A lot of patience.
That's the difference between a father for 2 years and a father for like 40 plus. But nah,
you have to have a lot of patience because you're dealing with the mind and sentiments of a woman, even as a young child, right? And it can be difficult sometimes. It can be really trying, but you gotta it extracts your patience. I mean, it pushes your patience past its limits and it sets new limits. And it can drive you up a wall. But, there's nothing like, to your point, there's nothing like the love of a daughter, and my youngest daughter and I, Solana, we have a bond. Our bond has really, really strengthened and improved over the years. We had our moments, don't get me wrong, we had our moment, all right? When she was like in her late teens and stuff like that, early 20s. But we got past that, both of us, and we have some great conversations now, and she loves her parents dearly. She takes care of her parents, she provides for her parents because her parents are up, all of us, we're up in age, in our 70s and what have you, and she takes care of her parents. And so I'm blessed and fortunate.
Beautiful.
What about you?
Man, being a girl dad, it just made me realize I am my father's son. My father, I'm the youngest of 4, 3 older sisters, and I just see, it's so weird, like my father passed 12 years ago, and I feel closer to him now than I did before, in a weird way, because I'm seeing myself, like I'm a true reflection of him. Just how I'm acting with Nova, I'm like, damn, like I'm Moosey Bowles, like volume 2. And like you said, being a girl dad, it's really no love like that. It's like falling in love again. You know, it reminds me of like falling in love with like Regina again, but in a different way. And to see, it's so trippy to wake up every morning and have Nova be my alarm clock. Like it's like I don't get, it's a mind fuck. I don't get used to that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's like an everlasting gratitude because I don't take it for granted. You know, even when she's Aggie, or even when, you know, and it's just like, and you know, like you were saying, I just wanna, it's a continuous reminder for me to just be a better version of myself because I just don't want her to go for any old regular nigga, you know, when she is of age to date. So I just want her to see an example of what it looks like to be a great husband. What the dog felt that, yeah, gang. What it looks like to disagree with your partner, but figure it out respectfully.
Right.
You know, I don't believe in that whole perfect Brady Bunch shit. Nah, we might not fuck with each other for a day. I don't like beefing over sleep, but we might not fuck with each other for a few hours. But I want her to see like, wow, look how mommy and daddy were able to converse about it respectfully. Like, you know, I just want her to be able to see that. Even like I could see her like picking up my bop, like she's swaggy by default, you know, oops, you know, but it's just, like I said, it's just a reminder that my daughter picks up everything I say and do. So if I want her to be a great woman growing up, I'm blessed to have an amazing wife. So she picks up a lot of things for me as well. So it's just a reminder, like every day it's a decision for me to be a better person. You know, and just not like the whole like, I'm paying the bills, like, yeah, that's great, but like just nourishment, that love. Like, you know, people remember how you made them feel, not like that the lights was on, which is very important.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
This whole thing about, if I may interject, right? You know, I'm getting real fed up and tired, quite frankly, about this whole shit about.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
You and 30.
Hey, listen, yeah, you're getting there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Join me. Glad to have you. I'm getting real sick and tired.
Yeah.
Real sick and tired of this narrative of black men only as being goddamn ATM machines. I am sick of it. I am sick to death of it, okay? I'm sick to death of this whole idea that all we are is an ATM machine. The first thing you always hear about, you know, pay the bills, which implies it's like a transactional sort of a relationship, A, and B, that we only are good for material offerings, you know? And we are far more deeper than that. Far more deeper than that, you know. So I've been past sick and tired about this whole narrative of black men being stamped as just to be quote unquote ATM machine. Yeah. I'm sick of it. I've been sick of it. You know, it makes me puke. No, really.
That was 90s. I ain't hear pukes in Saved by the Bell. Like, yeah, I felt that. Like, I might have to throw that in a verse. Might be a project name.
I mean, you know, we are providers, we're protectors, we are lawyers, we are counselors, we are spiritual advisors, we are emotional advisors, we are nurturers, you know, we are wise counselors, we're disciplinarians, we are artistic sources, you know. We are sometimes business sources. I mean, we are reflective, thought-provoking, thought expansionists, scientists, naturalists, you know, all teachers. I mean, all of those things. You know, we're not just goddamn ATM machines. And I bristle with that, bro. I swear to God, I bristle with it. And what happens is, what's dangerous is the fact that many of us as black men have bought into that false limiting narrative. I'm not speaking for us here at this setting, right?
Even those with
you know.
thought in their head, sometimes we succumb to it. Sometimes we, accept it. We acquiesce to what the world says that we are. It's the same reason why many of us are so filled with rage and end up, committing acts of violence, because the perception is by the media is that that's who we are. That's what we are. So it's very easy to adopt ideas about even who you are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to interject. I got 2 more questions, respectfully. But I totally agree with you on that. It's definitely bigger than the tangible, because you could be ATM, but what else? Like I look at parenting as nourishment. Like it's like that. The time, it's worth more than bread. Respectfully. It's a question for you two. How are you raising your boys different from the way that you were raised? Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, how are you raising?
I got a daughter.
A daughter. Oh shit, my fault. I'm drunk. So my fault. So that'd be for you. So my fault. Can you answer the girl dad situation as well?
How's it being a girl dad? That was the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. I don't think there's a relationship that I can refer to. This is a completely new situation. It's such a foreign way to love for me.
Yeah.
That it is like I catch myself just being the observer, rather than kind of being in my body.
It's like an out of body situation. Yeah.
So, and understanding the responsibility behind it as well it doesn't feel tumultuous at all either.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like something that you just kind of just pick up every day.
Yeah.
It shows itself in a new way. But yeah, it's a. I wish everybody can feel it.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you. You just feel. Like, I think you just feel multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
I became a well-rounded person.
Yeah. Damn, I felt that. No. I feel like it's something that's just bestowed upon you. It's not like it's some days I'm like, wow, it's heavy, but at the end of the day, it comes to me like, nah, this is actually just something this is a natural progression of you being a man, and it's really to you, like taking upon a responsibility. What comes with that is so much beauty, but it's your decision to take upon that responsibility, which unfortunately a lot of men didn't, only if they knew the beauty that comes with that, it's but I guess the question for you, Rodney, then how are you raising the boys different from the way that you were raised in Irvington, New Jersey?
Yeah, I think that I'm allowing them to fully express the entire spectrum of their humanity. I want y'all to emote, right? Like I wanna know how you feel, but I need you first to know how you feel. Like I'm prioritizing emotional intelligence. I think that's like, I'm not great in academia. Like I'm not some well-studied, higher education. Yeah. Like I'm just not that great at those things, right? I did it, but I didn't excel at it. So the thing that I can offer them is just having a better understanding of self. Because I feel like when you understand self, you're just a better asset to the world. When you know what your strong suits are, when you know where your areas of weakness are, how you need to improve. We go below the surface. Like I prioritize, especially when talking about women, because that's the area of my life where I probably have had the most stress, to be honest. Giving them real game, like the real shit, not the, sow your seed. Like just we're not doing that. Like I've been active my whole life. I don't want to promote promiscuity to them. So I've done a really good job, I feel like, of explaining my experiences and what a man is supposed to look like, how a man is supposed to present to a woman, how he's supposed to treat a woman. Those conversations weren't really said to me other than like open doors. You know what I mean? It's just like, so I'm talking about a lot more than that. And then Yeah, I just real. My dad was weird, bro. So I just been protecting him from the weird shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really my
Jersey
goal.
nigga, yeah.
Yo, we're all gonna have to unlearn shit, right?
Yeah.
My goal has been to like give them as little to unlearn as possible.
Yeah.
And just recognizing there's gonna be some things that are gonna be like, well, you did this, and cool, bro. But at the same time, like I gave you that. So just trying to give them as little to unlearn as possible.
Yeah. But nah, thank you guys. Nah, thank you. Can you just get a round of applause for yourselves?
Salam.
And the last thing I did want to say, even for those who aren't fathers who might be watching this, I wish I knew this a little earlier. I'm not gonna hold you. Fatherhood, I thought when I became a father I'd be washed. Like, all honesty, my definition of fatherhood was my father, who was an older man. I didn't grow up with cool fathers, you know? But I just, fatherhood is, yo, bro, don't be intimidated by it when you are blessed with that. It's actually one of the biggest, and I'm so grateful for the blessings that God has given me thus far in my 30 plus years of living, but being a father is no question the number one thing that is done for me. And obviously the life that's in that house, but the pressure that it applied on me that introduced me to my higher self. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Like, fatherhood is fun, it's stressful. Life is fun, life is stressful, and I think don't run away from the hard shit, because sometimes the hard thing, it makes you a better person. So that was the last note I did want to leave on, but if anyone wants to say any last words of fatherhood, any tips for fathers to be?
Fatherhood can be a redeeming experience. I think a lot of men run from fatherhood because they're shamed about some part of their life. Right? Fatherhood gives you a chance for redemption. It offers you the ability to make all of the wrongs that you experience in your life right in someone else. So if you by the grace of God, by the grace of the universe, whatever powers that be, bestow upon you the opportunity to be a father, and I know how in certain instances it can be ass.
Asparagus.
Ass. To be a part of certain situations that don't feel good to you, man. If you get the opportunity, you gotta do it, man, because it really is the only chance of which you can correct all of the wrongs that you experienced in your life, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nah, I was gonna say, I want to thank you, bro, for setting this up. I feel like we were talking about this a little bit off camera, but I feel like we don't have enough of these kind of conversations, especially as men, fathers. So I just appreciate you creating the space to have the dialogue, so I can learn from these brothers.
Nah.
They call me old head. What you about to say?
I mean, I don't know how old you are, bro. You look good though.
Ronnie Benjamin Button, but nah, no problem. And it's just to answer before we get to Pops, I think it's very important. It was a question, but I know we lacking on time. It's just men's mental health. I actually, want to do it in November, which was Men's Mental Health Month. But I just think it's important just to have this dialogue, because I think a lot of people go to the edge because they feel like they're alone. So just to for us to just remember, like, we're not alone in this shit. Like I said, like, this is my first time. Shout out to Nova Gang. But this is our first time being fathers, so it feels good to have a conversation with all of you guys, just dialogue, just like, oh, y'all feel that way too? Oh, she Aggie too, or whatever. But it's the process, and also being blessed to have Brother Abdul with us, who's a veteran in the game, respectfully 40 plus years, to really give us a different type of game. So I just think, and also the importance of us having elders. Respect your elders, bro. Listen to your elders. Shut up and listen sometimes, because that information and knowledge, so just as you said to me, Juicy, the energy goes back to y'all, because I respect y'all from afar, so I just feel as though it's only right, it's just conversation to me, really, man.
I just want to thank you, MoRuf, for the wisdom to organize this kind of a gathering. I am so humbled, deeply humbled, and I mean that in every sincere part of my soul, to be a part of this extraordinary gathering of young brothers and sisters, and whatever small contributions I could make to the the discussion in terms of uplifting us fathers and improving our roles as fathers, then praise be to Allah. I'm just so deeply honored to be here amongst all of you brothers, man. So deeply honored, and I can't say that enough. And when you talked to me, when we talked on the phone about a few days ago, what you wanted to do, it was like no brainer. I'm there. I'm there. Just say when. Just say when, right?
Yeah, thank you.
And so, I can't thank you enough for that. And I just watching you as a dad and a husband and a father with those two beautiful people over there is just a privilege. It's just a privilege to watch. We've had these conversations before, right?
And you saw me before I was married or dad, so.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just watching you,
You too, Ronnie.
just watching you in this whole process, man, has been nothing but a privilege, a joy and a privilege, right?
You.
And it's really a privilege and an honor to be amongst you brothers here, the crew, the participants, and everybody else. So, thank you once again. And I hope that this conversation that we have here doesn't stay here, that we take it out there.
Respectfully.
That's
what the camera's for.
All right.
You know what I mean?
And so I hope that we can continue our relationship.
Yeah.
And our bonding, no matter where we are across the country.
Yeah.
Okay. And we exchange numbers and everything like that, right? And keep in touch, so forth.
It's necessary.
But thank you so much again. Thank you.
No problem.
I did everything everybody else said. Thank you.
Nah.
Thank you for this.
Love.
Probably everybody's reading it, or everybody should read it, but just reading Bell Hooks' The Will to Change.
I read that. Jesse gave me the book.
Yeah.
The Will to Change by Bell Hooks.
It's a transformative
It is.
book, but I think what I'm gathering from it right now is, we have a tendency to isolate, kind of go inward, and I think this pushes. I'm very grateful we have a cast of a generation of fathers that are going towards having this kind of nurturing this kind of community, because I think being a father for me really gets me in touch with the future. You know what I'm saying? And I think the future is very much invested in how we are as fathers now. So I'm very hopeful for stuff like this. Thank you.
Well, appreciate y'all brothers. Thank you. Appreciate you guys for watching. Montel Williams. Saying appreciate you guys, anybody watching. Thank you so much. MoRuf, some amazing brothers over here. Sentimental. Saying I appreciate you guys. Shout out to Fatherhood. It's a blessing, and much love. Thank you so much. Peace. And I do have, these are flowers, like literally. I just want to give each of you brothers, you know what I mean? Brothers don't give brothers flowers, you know what I mean? 2 each. So my wife just whispered in my ear, give 2 each. So it's a little thorny, but life get thorny. Yes, boo boo. Thank you. No, I got you. You know what I mean? Respectfully, Pops, you know what I mean? Take 2 of these, take 3, man. Nah, you need 3.
Thank you, Aki.
You know what I mean? And the big one is for the OG, respectfully. Like, this is for you, Pop. Nah, but all honesty, just.
Oh man.
Nah, just all honesty.
You.
Nah, just a sense of like, we appreciate your presence and just the knowledge
Thank you.
that you passed on. But
thank you. So
appreciate
much.
y'all, brothers.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Do me a favor, man. Would you take a picture of this? I want to send it to Audrey and Salon and them. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.